This is Film Focus with Emily Cook.
Today we're in a recording studio in Shoreditch in the heart of London's East End. I'm joined by activist, performance artist and filmmaker Richard Dedomenici. Hello Richard.
Hi, I'm feeling very excited. I've never been on a podcast before.
We actually met a couple of weeks ago whilst working on BBC4's Live from Television Centre programme, and since then I've enjoyed getting to know your work as a filmmaker. Over the past few years you've been engaging with what you call your Redux project, recreating scenes from feature films such as Jurassic Park, the Bourne trilogy, The Matrix, to name a few of many. What inspires you and motivates you to create these Reduxes, and what do you hope they will achieve?
Basically, the project started 2 years ago by mistake. I was asked if I had any ideas for a performance in a cinema in Bangkok. I came up with a few ideas, one of which was to remake some scenes from a local film on an extremely low budget and then show them in the cinema. So it'd be like an artist coming to the place, learning about the local culture and then subverting it slightly, but also embracing it and celebrating it. So I did lots of research, and eventually I found this romantic comedy called Bangkok Traffic Love Story. We shot it in a couple of days. I edited it in a couple of days and then we screened it. So it's a very quick turnaround. And I didn't know what people were going to make of it. I thought they might be offended that this white Western guy was coming over and parodying a bit of their local culture, because it was a top film of 2011. And then we got a great review in the newspaper. They said that they preferred my version of Bangkok Traffic Love Story to the original. And we did another short clip from a Thai film that was also shot in the cinema, and the director of the movie put it on his Facebook page. I was amazed, and it was supposed to be a one-off, but I thought I'll investigate this further. So I was asked to perform at the Buzzcut Festival in Glasgow. Cloud Atlas had just been shot in Glasgow, even though it was set in San Francisco, and they did a lot of work on it. It does look quite San Franciscan. They've added, skyscrapers and stuff. We shot some scenes from that film. Fast turnaround, about 3 days. And again, the Scotsman gave it a 4-star review, which is 1 star more than the Scotsman gave to the actual film Cloud Atlas.
Oh wow.
So this was a trend. I suddenly realised that people seem to enjoy my remakes of big budget movies more than they prefer the originals, and so that's what I've been investigating ever since. What started off as a one-off project, I've done 50 of them in the past 2 years.
Wow.
If we include the 10 that I did in the BBC show, we don't use trained crews, we just find people who are interested in taking part in it. So in a way it's about trying to subvert Hollywood by making copies of things that cost millions of dollars for like $1.
So subverting Hollywood is your main goal with this, and also giving people an opportunity to work on films which they might not otherwise have the opportunity to work on.
In recent years there's been a huge increase in the amount of remakes and sequels and prequels and reboots. So the Redux project kind of comments upon that, critiques it, and also celebrates it in a way and contributes to it by making remakes of reboots. Ironically, I'm hoping that by remaking all these things that are already quite derivative, that it will encourage people to make something new, because everyone has got the potential to make a movie in their pockets. You can shoot something and edit it on an iPhone. It's amazing. We've all got the potential to create our own culture. So that's what the Redux project, that's the kind of underlying ethos really of the project. And other people have been inspired to make their own Reduxes as a result. What makes mine a little bit different is that we strive to use the original locations. We break that rule sometimes. If we find a location that looks similar enough, Jurassic Park for instance, we found a kitchen in Edinburgh that looked really similar. Really similar. So much so that someone said to me, Richard, we found a kitchen in Edinburgh that looks just like the Jurassic Park kitchen, can we Redux? And we did it the next day. As the project has got more well-known and more ambitious in its scope, the kind of venues we've had access to have increased. So I never thought at the beginning that a shopping centre would give us the whole run of the place overnight, that we'd be able to drive cars through it and have like 50 zombie extras. It's crazy. So the more I do, the more I learn. Ending up most recently with doing one at BBC TV Centre, which is crazy.
Yes.
So
let's talk about that.
Let's.
In case you didn't catch the programme, Live from Television Centre, which we both worked on, was an ambitious 2-hour programme featuring work from some of the UK's most exciting and innovative theatre production companies. Your Redux project was a part of this, which I was fortunate enough to be in. So your Redux project within the programme involved creating scenes from the BBC's back catalogue, from the Blue Peter's elephant disaster to the Top of the Pops lip-syncing episode. I thought it was quite a special and unique evening, seeing Television Centre come alive again for the first time since its actual decommissioning. In a nutshell, can you explain what your part of the evening entailed?
Yeah, well, first of all, can I just say the the Blue Peter elephant disaster makes it sound worse than it actually was. It was just an elephant doing a poo on the floor. No animals were harmed. Basically, I reduxed 10 clips from BBC's history, beloved clips, starting from like the 1960s when it was all in black and white up until the present day. I hope that by making fake versions of things that are already themselves fake, that we can somehow arrive at a greater truth. That's my general hope for the Redux project, and I think that certainly was the case in the BBC version. So we started off with an Alan Partridge clip, which was shot outside the TV centre. I wanted to establish that we were actually there. A lot of the building is currently being turned into luxury flats, so we didn't have access to some of the iconic spaces like the Rotunda and the Blue Peter Garden and what have you. So we did a shot of Alan Partridge, then we went inside, we did quite a lot of Eurovision clips. It was all being done, directed from an OB truck about 200 metres down the road. We did a Blue Peter, the elephant disaster. We did some Top of the Pops clips, we did some current affairs, we did a 6 o'clock news, and we ended with a big finale of Strictly Come Dancing, which to prove that we were actually live was a redux of the song that had been on the show that evening on BBC One. We had a few cameos. We had Matt Steer, who's an amazing actor who was in Hamlet with Benedict Cumberbatch at the Barbican recently. Blake Harrison was amazing from The Inbetweeners and from the upcoming remake of Dad's Army.
Yes.
And Samantha Spiro. So it was just so surreal to have all these people involved in my work. It was amazing but ridiculous. I spent 6 months on it, working every day to make 27 minutes of TV. So it exists now forever as a thing. People seem to really like it.
The reason that I find your Reduxes particularly interesting is I've been involved with a scheme called Man in Shorts on the Isle of Man, which is a filmmaking production scheme. And a couple of years ago, we created our own versions, or Reduxes, which we called Scene Stealers. And we made Love Actually, the cue card scene, which I believe you've seen, and also The Graduate and The Shining. Similarly to you, we put restraints on time. I think it had to be shot within 12 hours. All of the crew were doing roles they'd never done before. I co-directed on one of them and I produced another one of them. Budget was zero budget, but I think we managed to spend £50. It all had to be edited within 1 week. Of course, that was with an editor who had never edited before, so there had to be training as well for that. We found that it generated a great deal of pulling together and community spirit, and people really wanted to help out within these constraints. It kind of generated creativity. Do you find that people want to get involved and play their part, because if they don't play their part, it just simply wouldn't happen? There aren't the resources.
Yeah, Scene Stealers is a good name actually. That's probably a better name than the Redux project. It just means brought back. But yeah, in terms of what you're saying about, you know, working with local communities and stuff, I'm really amazed by how many people are willing to take part in it, really. Well, normally time is the most important thing. We've normally got like a couple of hours in a location. What takes time is the editing, and that can take days, and then what takes even more time is the preparation beforehand, the research, trying to find the locations, trying to figure out where the shots were taken from, and trying to see if we can get access to those. That can take weeks or months depending on the complexity. So lots of driving around in Google Street View.
When we spoke a while ago, I told you a little bit about the Isle of Man and its rich filmmaking community, and you said that you might actually be considering coming to the Isle of Man to do a Redux.
Yeah, I would love that actually. I've never been to the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man would be an exciting new challenge.
I think since '95 there have been over 110 films shot there.
Wow.
They include The Libertine with Johnny Depp.
I love that movie.
Belle, directed by Amra Sante, which came out last year. You should see that.
Okay, I will. I'll do some research.
It's been fantastic having you joining us in this very creative environment of an art studio in East London, surrounded by costumes and sequins and all kinds of things here. To play us out, you've kindly said that you're going to do a director's commentary of the Matrix Redux that you did. For those who are listening to the audio file, please check this out on the video file, because otherwise you will not get the full effect. Thank you very much, Richard, for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been very nice, and thank you to Scotty for letting us use his studio today. This is my director's commentary of my redux of The Matrix. We shot this on the streets of Sydney in the central business district, which luckily was very empty on a Sunday morning, and we had a couple of hours. I think the Sydney Festival sought permission for us to film on the streets, although that's something I don't always do. We had a big cast, probably the biggest cast we've ever had, about 40 people, all in costume. And our primary actors, a guy called Irvin, who was playing Morpheus, and Jackson, who's playing Neo. I thought they looked very similar, and that's due to Performance Space, who was an organisation in Sydney who produced this. My friend Xanthi was the woman in the red dress, thank you to her. We did 4 Reduxes in Sydney. And I don't know, it's probably people's favourite Redux, particularly the bit where we stop time. Originally I was going to use special effects to achieve this, but it would have taken too much time, so I just got everyone to stand very still, apart from one member of the public who's just walking in the background, didn't realise what we were doing. Ruins it a little bit, but hey, that's the spontaneity of the Redux project. We also had pigeons on sticks to sell the gag that we'd frozen time. That wasn't my idea, that was Talia's idea. She worked at Performance Space, so thank you for that idea. That really helps to sell that we've frozen time, I feel. And the costumes were great. We found a great leather coat, and the guy who was playing Keanu Reeves, Jackson, he was actually a bit too good. I think he was an actual actor. We don't normally use actors, but if one wants to be in it, I'm not going to say no. His acting was better than Keanu's. And it took me ages to put the reflection of Keanu Reeves into Morpheus's glasses. That's what most of the editing time went on. I'm very proud of it, though. I think it really helps to sell the gag. This is also the place, shortly after this Redux was made, a terrorist attack happened in St Martin's Place. You might remember it, in the Lint Cafe. This often happens after I go to a place with a Redux. Something awful happens in Bangkok. There was a military coup shortly after I was there, so be aware of that if you're going to ask me to do any Reduxes in your place of where you live. Something terrible might. I don't know if there's a correlation, but there's not necessarily causation. There's not enough evidence yet to support that.
You won't have to.
People really like this one. I had to kind of grade it afterwards. I edited it in a couple of days, and basically the grading involved making it go a bit green, because that's kind of the general tone of the Matrix films, is kind of green. And we couldn't turn the fountain off, so that's still going in the background. So yeah, we had loads of amazing participants, and I edited it and screened it a couple of days later at the Carriage Works in Sydney, and hundreds of people came and it got great reviews. And since then we've done loads of other ones in other parts of the world. So, and it's still going, so watch out for it. It might be coming to a place near you soon. If you want to have a look at any of the previous Reduxes, there's about 50 of them. You can have a look at thereduxproject.com.
Thanks for listening to Film Focus with Emily Cook. Happy movie going!